Hello and welcome to Taffy Crafting. I've got some little boxes today. I've taken inspiration from these from a lady called Crafty Caroline. She's no longer a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, but I love her projects. And if I really don't know what I'm going to do next, she's one of my go-to crafters because she's so clever with boxes, and I do like to make boxes. So I've got two different types here. This is made out of cardstock and then has been decorated with white cardstock that's been stamped, and I've stamped that using the, I'll put my hands on it, the Beautiful Bouquet stamp set, and I've just stamped it with that. And then I thought, well, what will be even quicker is to actually make the box in DSP. So using some of our thicker DSPs, this one is Garden Lane, and I've picked this one because I like green. I didn't realise how much I liked green until the Garden Lane DSP came out, but it's got some white in there, so I'm able to put a nice sentiment on there. So lovely and simple. Really, really simple. And when you look at all the score lines and how you have to cut, you might think, oh, that looks complicated. Really isn't. I thought it was going to be when I first started this, but it's not. So I'm going to show you a couple of tips as well about putting these together. I'm going to show you how easy it is. You need a sheet of DSP that measures 8.5 by 5 inches. Don't even have to put a sentiment on there if you don't want to. A bit of ribbon holding it together. So this is the reversible Pretty Peacock and Old Olive ribbon. Love this. I use that on a lot of my projects. And I'm still sticking with the happy anniversary theme. You can use this for anything. Wedding favours, little Easter treats if you're having a bit of a maybe an Easter treasure hunt or something. I've used anniversary in case you wanted to put maybe for the lady in your life a nice piece of jewellery, costume jewellery or more expensive jewellery, or just a nice small gift, maybe even for a fella, cufflinks. Do men still wear cufflinks? Probably not, but for those men that do. So quite versatile. Let me show you how to make it. In the meantime, if you wouldn't mind, if you like crafting projects, I try and post at least 1 or 2 a week. So please come and subscribe to my channel. I'm just trying to head up to 1,000 subscribers. I'm working as hard as I possibly can for that. So, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Anyway, let's start with this. I've got a piece of DSP, as I said, measures 8.5 by 5. Tip number 1, make sure the direction of your paper when you're looking at it on the horizontal like that is in that direction. Because if it's the other way round, your box isn't going to look right. Everything's going to look as if it's facing downwards. So this is from the Sia Silhouette range, and it's got a really nice vibrant inside, so that's going to look absolutely lovely when somebody opens that. So very nice, very gender neutral, loving that. The other one that I'm going to make it in as well is the Magnolia Lane. Because it's a small box, this is tip number 2. So tip number 1 was make sure that you get the direction of your paper right. Tip number 2 is use a relatively small pattern, and if you are going to stamp white DSP or any other, it didn't work with this, you want a much smaller stamp. I should have used the smaller flower. I'll know that for next time. Okay, so let's put that away. So let's start with this. We need to put some score lines on this. So let's find my trusty scoreboard, which never fits in shot. Never mind. So let's put as much of this on screen as you can as we could possibly get. So on the long side, let's find the measurements, which I've put down somewhere. On the long side, you are going to score at 2, 4, 6, 8. How easy is that? Short side, excuse me, you're going to score at 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so what you should have here, let's get rid of this, don't need it anymore. So you're going to have 4 squares here, and then you've just got a little strip of a rectangle there, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 rectangles there, and then we've got this skinny rectangle here. So finding my scissors, we need to do some cutting. Let's start with these 3 rectangles. If you can see those there, hopefully that is showing up quite nicely on this paper. And we need to cut up to the second score line. Okay, so I'm just going to, this paper's nice actually because I can see the score lines. On the Garden Lane one I was really struggling to see score lines. I'm just cutting up to the second score line. And even on that skinny one up to the second. On this skinny bit here, when you get to the second score line, cut it off there. Okay, so we've got those. Turn it round, and then we come to our squares, and you're going to cut up to the first score line. Just to let you know as well, there'll be a blog post for this, and I will publish it at the same time as the video, and it will have all of your dimensions on there. And then you can just use the video to follow along to get all these scores and cuts in the right places. So last one, taking us then up to that skinny rectangle. And we're just going to cut there so you're left with that. Okay, so looking at these, so these are our, what we've got here, 1, 2, that's where we've cut up to those rectangles. Now it doesn't matter which ones, does it? Let's put this at the, I want that at the top. You are going to cut, I've missed a cut. How did I do that? Not concentrating, so up to the second score line. On the second one and on the fourth one, you are going to cut off that first rectangle. So when you're looking at it from there, you've got the first one intact and the third one intact. We've taken off the second one and the fourth one. And then going back to our big squares, what we need to do, we're going to ignore this one, and on the first, the second and the fourth, we're going to wedge them. What do I mean by wedge them? I just mean that. You don't need any measurements. All you're doing is from the outside, bring your scissors in a bit and then cut it up into the corner. It just makes putting the whole thing together a bit easier, and it eliminates bulk. So you don't need to measure anything at all. There's no exact science behind this. We'll leave the third one intact, and you'll see why shortly. And then we'll just do the fourth one. Okay, so that's what we have left. That's the top of our box, and that is the bottom of our box. Third tip, getting spoilt today, you lot. You could round those corners if you want to, if you've got a corner rounder. I'm not going to do that, but it does look a little bit nicer. Nobody really looks at the bottom of a box, but just in case they did, that just makes that a little bit neater. Okay, let's just fold and burnish all of our score lines. You could have done that before cutting, it doesn't matter. Because it's DSP, I'm not going to use a bone folder, it isn't really necessary. If you were using cardstock and decorating your cardstock, then I would recommend the bone folder. But really don't need it with this, just be a little bit careful. I nearly tore that then. So there's all my folding and burnishing going on. Right, one last thing before we put this together. We need to use the scalloped tag topper punch to punch our shape like that. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to tuck these two in. So I'm just left with these. I'm going to fold these over and fold those over like that. So I've just got everything together, and I'm just left with these two flaps together there. And I'm going to get the scallop tag topper punch and put that through there. Oops. Just make sure that's gone through. Yeah. And punch that. And there we go. Now I'm ready to assemble. So that's what you should be left with. So that is the inside of our box. It doesn't have to be, but it's whatever you choose it to be. So that's the outside. There's our little tabby bit. And I'm just going to run some glue along there. I'm just going to get my tear and tape. So this has to go on the outside and run it as close to the score line as you can. Just trim that off. So I've taken that off there. So looking at the inside, I'm going to fold that over. So that's where my adhesive is. I'm going to fold this over here, line up my score lines. And get the edge onto that score line. There we go. So now our box will start to take shapes. Let's just deal with the bottom. There's the flap that we didn't wedge. So these are our side flaps. So the first thing I want to do, we'll fold that one in, but we'll put a little bit of adhesive on that one. That's when it all starts to get a bit fiddly. And if you're working with DSP rather than cardstock, just be careful because it starts to get a little bit delicate. So, get that out of the way. First side flap goes in, and that one that we've just put adhesive on, keep it square. Keep this square before you stick that down, otherwise it all goes out of shape. That's your tip number 4. And then just push that down there. Then this third one that wasn't wedged, that's going to stick in there. So we put a little bit of glue on that one as well. So just a bit of tear and tape in there. And I'm just going to push that one down to match that one. And then finally, some adhesive. You can use Tombow if you like. I'm just using tear and tape because it's quicker, because if you're using Tombow on this, you're going to wait for it to dry at each point. You don't want to watch the glue drying, and I don't want to wait for glue to dry either. And then there's our last one, and fold that down like that. And that's why we didn't wedge it, so that it's it's all in there and we can't see any, there's no gaps. So let's deal with the top of this. So we've got these were the 2 tops that we cut off. So that folds in. Obviously you put your treat in first. Now there is a reason I haven't put treats in, no chocolate treats anyway, because I'm on a diet. I'm always on a diet. So I've just picked up a couple of things here that we might put in. I'm not suggesting that anybody gets this for somebody as an anniversary present. It's just things that I've got to hand. 2 tea lights. Honestly, if my husband bought me 2 tea lights for our anniversary, I'd be a bit miffed. 2 tea lights. There we are. They fit nice. They smell nice as well, actually. They're from Tesco's. Vanilla and honey. Oh, yum. They're nice. I might just put them in the... I might just burn them later on. So they fit in quite nicely. They do shake about a bit. I just want to show you how it goes together. So put those in. Those 2 come down like that, and then we need to fasten that off with something. And for this, you could either use some ribbon that's got these colours in there, but because I don't have those colours to hand, I've only got a limited amount of ribbon. I'm not a massive ribbon lover, so I don't buy a lot of it. So what I'm going to use is just some white ribbon there. Just give you a bit of an idea of what you could do. Wouldn't necessarily use polka dots with this Sia silhouette range, but it doesn't matter. So I've doubled that over like that, and I'm just threading the ends through the top of that. I'm going to take my loop that's here and I'm going to feed those two ends through that loop towards me. And there you have it. Now you could leave it like that if you want to, but I think that should have a sentiment on it. I'm going to stick with the anniversary theme, and I'm going to use Mango Melody. That's one of the colours that's in here. And I've got myself, but now I can't find it. I had a piece of white, there it is, little piece of Whisper White cardstock, and that measures 1 7/8 by 3/4 of an inch. And I've got my Happy Anniversary from the Beautiful Bouquet stamp set. I'll show you that in a second. Let's just stamp this first. Oh, I've got some green ink on that. I don't know if this is straight because I can't get my head over it. I'm just going to guess that. That is fine. You can round the corners off on that if you want to. And then we're going to put that on there, and I'm going to put that on there with some dimensionals. But you probably knew I was going to say that before I said it. For anyone who regularly watches me, you know how much I love dimensionals. So we'll just put that on there like that, and there we go. There's our little sentiment on there. There's the anniversary gift. It's actually my wedding anniversary in a month's time, so I wonder how my husband will feel if I bought him just a couple of tea lights. I think he'd really appreciate that. Not so. Here's our beautiful bouquet. Let's get the light away from it before it starts flickering. I really love this, just because it's really versatile. You've got a lot of sentiments on there, but you've got some flowers. This is great if you want to do your own printed cardstock. You can actually create your own DSP. It's got some lovely bits and pieces on here, bows and flowers and branches and leaves, just got a bit of everything. And they're quite small, these sentiments, so they're nice for smaller gift tags. So we've got thanks, wishing you a day of love and happy memories. That can be for birthday, anniversaries, weddings, christenings. We've got a happy birthday, congratulations. That's another one, a bit for a wedding. May you grow a wonderful life together. I couldn't have picked a better friend than you. So really lovely, lovely things in there. So that's the beautiful bouquet. And there's our little box. I've got quite a collection of these now. I can save these up for the next 3 years. There you are, husband. There's this year's, there's next year's, and there's the year after. So there are my 3 boxes, and I'm going to make another one in Garden Lane. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and come and subscribe if you want to see some more. I'll try and get something posted and published in the next couple of days. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.